On the night of April 3rd, 2017, long-haul trucker Curtis Avery departed from a packaging plant in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, hauling a shipment of processed poultry bound for distribution centers in Utah. A 55-year-old veteran of the road with over 3 decades behind the wheel, Avery was known among fellow drivers for his calm demeanor, attention to detail, an uncanny ability to stay on schedule even during the worst weather. According to Silver State Freight's electronic logs, Avery's route took him southwest, along I-29 before merging onto US Route 20, a quieter, 2-lane highway known to truckers as the Forgotten Line. It cut through remote farmland, abandoned silos, and long stretches of nothing but telephone poles and power lines. Most drivers avoided it at night. Avery didn't mind. He preferred the solitude. His last routine check-in came at 9:36 p.m. near the Nebraska border. He told dispatch he planned to make his rest stop near Junction 47, a small unmanned fueling station surrounded by empty fields. He'd stopped there before. Nothing special, just a pair of diesel pumps, an old vending machine shack, and a lone sodium lamp that buzzed like a hornet when the wind blew hard enough. But this time, something was different. At 10:17 p.m., Avery's truck came to a stop at Junction 47. The engine idled for another 10 minutes before it cut out completely. Then nothing. No further communication, no GPS movement. When dispatch attempted contact, they received no response. Avery's CB stayed silent by 2 a.m. with no updates and no sign of movement on the logs. Dispatch flagged the truck as unresponsive and initiated protocol. A welfare check was requested through the Nebraska State Patrol. Trooper Calvin Reese arrived at Junction 47 at 3:08 a.m. The weather had turned. Cold drizzle mixed with sleet, and the sound of rain on the cruiser roof added to the unease as he pulled alongside the unlit tractor trailer. The truck sat perfectly aligned with the pump, hazards off, cab dark. Reese's official report noted. Immediate concern: the driver's door was slightly ajar, swaying in the wind. Inside, Avery's logbook remained on the dashboard. His wallet, cell phone, and travel thermos were in their usual spots. The coffee was still warm. A half-eaten roast beef sandwich rested on the passenger seat, but there was no sign of the driver himself. Reese's flashlight swept over the signs of struggle. No blood, no sign of Avery stepping out in haste. The keys were still in the ignition, and oddly, the gear was in neutral. But the strangest detail came from the wet gravel surrounding the truck. According to the trooper's report, there were no footprints, not a single one leading away from the truck, not toward the road, not toward the vending station, nothing, just an untouched crust of damp earth. The next morning, Nebraska Search and Rescue arrived with dogs, drones, and infrared. They canvassed a 5-mile radius, including drainage ditches and an old irrigation tunnel system beneath the fields. Nothing turned up, but then, at 9:12 a.m., a volunteer spotted something odd about 200 yards from the truck. A single leather glove of Ivory's was resting neatly atop a rusted fence post. The fence hadn't been maintained in years, and its barbed wire sagged with age. The glove was dry. Not a drop of rain had touched it, despite the storm that had passed through. An inspection of the area revealed something else. The sodium lamp above the station had melted slightly at the base. It hadn't burned out. It had softened, like plastic warped under a heat source, though no burn marks, no electrical fire, and no signs of overheating were ever found. Even stranger, security footage from the outdated pump camera wired too. A box that hadn't been serviced in over a decade, had somehow recorded the moment Avery's truck arrived. But instead of showing him exit the cab, the timestamp jumped forward 13 minutes. One frame showed the empty lot. The next showed the truck door swinging open. There were no shadows, no movement, no interference, just a time gap and a truck with an open door when asked to explain the footage. The regional tech supervisor who recovered it said only this: "That system wasn't even supposed to be working. That recorder's been dead for years." To this day, Curtis Avery has never been found. His truck was towed back to the Silver State Freight Depot and remains in storage. Attempts to auction it failed when multiple buyers returned it, citing technical glitches and bad energy. One driver claimed his CB turned on by itself every night at 10:17 p.m., playing a faint tapping sound 5 slow knocks end every year on April 3rd. Around the same time Avery vanished. Other truckers who stop at Junction 47 report similar experiences. Their radios hiss to life with static, then fall silent. Their headlights flicker as if something massive passes in front of them. And sometimes they hear a knock, just one, then another, then 3 more. 5 in total. The sound of someone knocking on a truck door. Someone who was never seen leaving their own. On the rainy night of November 9th, 2018, long-haul trucker Janet Wells was en route from Denver, Colorado to Albuquerque, New Mexico. A 39-year-old independent hauler with over a decade of experience. Janet was hauling a full load of packaged dry goods for a regional grocery chain. Her route took her along I-25, a well-traveled corridor known for its sudden weather shifts and stretches of complete isolation between small towns. According to her electronic log, Janet departed Denver at 6:13 p.m. Weather reports had warned of storms in northern New Mexico, but Janet was ahead of schedule and confident she'd reach Albuquerque before the worst of it set in. She made 2 check-ins, one outside Pueblo and another just before Trinidad, reporting clear roads and steady progress. At 11:04 p.m., her GPS pinged her location just north of Raton Pass, a mountainous section of the interstate known for winding roads and poor visibility during storms. That was the last digital contact ever received from Janet Wells. At 6:32 a.m. The next morning, New Mexico State Police received a call from a road crew performing weather assessments near mile marker 197. A red Freightliner, Cascadia, was parked on the shoulder in heavy fog. The hazard lights were flashing steadily, and the engine was still idling. Trooper Marissa Quinn was the first to arrive. Her initial report noted the truck was perfectly aligned with the road, as if Janet had simply pulled over and intended to return in moments. The driver's door was closed but unlocked. Inside the cab, her logbook, a half-empty bottle of soda, her ID, wallet, and phone. The heater was on. Her coffee was still warm, but Janet was gone. What immediately struck Trooper Quinn was the windshield. Condensation had gathered on the inside, as expected on a cold night, but in the center of the fogged glass was a perfect oval, wiped clean from the inside, as if someone had leaned forward to press their face against the glass. No fingerprints, just the unmistakable impression of a face. Quinn called for backup. Over the next several hours, officers combed the area on foot. Helicopters were grounded due to thick fog. K-29 units struggled. Janet's scent trail ended abruptly in the middle of the road, less than 30 feet from the truck. There were no footprints, tire tracks, or signs of a struggle. Only the steady patter of rain and a fog so dense it swallowed. Sound. Dashcam footage from Janet's truck was recovered. The last recording ends at 11:02 p.m., 2 minutes before her GPS last pinged. The video shows the road ahead, winding through dense forest and mist. In the final 10 seconds, a strange shadow appears to move across the road, not walking, but gliding just outside the reach of the headlights. The footage ends in static, accompanied by a single audible breath. Not Janet's, a low, slow exhale right. Beside the cab's microphone, forensics could not identify the source. The breath did not match Janet's vocal profile. Further investigation revealed one more bizarre detail. A highway camera positioned a quarter-mile south of the site had recorded footage at 11:06 p.m., 2 minutes after Janet's truck stopped. In it, her rig is visible through the mist, just barely. Standing on the center line of the road, approximately 15 feet from her truck, is a figured dot, tall, thin, no visible facial features. Arms slightly raised, not moving. The figure remains in frame for exactly 7 seconds, then disappears. No footsteps, no blur, no motion. One frame, it's there. The next, it's not. Investigators initially suspected foul play, but nothing in Janet's background or route indicated risk. No enemies, no debts, no history of mental illness. Her last texts to a friend at 10:43 p.m. were cheerful. She mentioned a great song playing on the radio and how much she was looking forward to the stop in Albuquerque. There was no distress. Then came the witness. 3 days after Janet's disappearance, a trucker named Wesley Grant reported something odd to authorities. He'd been pulled over at a rest area near mile marker 203 that night due to fog. Around 11:30 p.m., he saw what he assumed was another trucker walking in the mist just outside his window. But the silhouette was wrong. Too tall, the arms too long. It moved, slowly, deliberately, pausing beside his cab, but never knocking, never speaking. When he turned on his exterior lights to get a better look, the figure was gone. Wesley said the fog rolled in behind it like a curtain. I've seen animals, drunks, even hitchhikers. He told the investigators. This wasn't that. This thing wasn't trying to get a ride. It was watching me. Despite weeks of searching, no trace of Janet Wells was ever found. No discarded clothing. No signs of distress. Her truck was returned to her family, then sold. The buyer returned it 3 weeks later after claiming the windshield would refog itself. Even with the defroster and always in the shape of an oval, always in the same place. To this day, mile marker 197 carries a quiet reputation among truckers. Most won't stop there unless they have no choice. Some say the fog hits harder in that stretch. Some say they've seen movement on the edge of their lights, just like Janet's camera did. And some say if you leave your truck running too long in that fog, you might find your own face staring back at you in the glass. But it won't be where you remember standing. On the night of July 14th, 2014, veteran driver Marvin Reyes was hauling a load of automotive parts from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Flagstaff, Arizona. A 46-year-old independent contractor with over 20 years of spotless driving history, Marvin was known for being meticulous, always logging on time, always taking the same breaks, always sleeping in the same exact position in his sleeper cab. His route took him west along I-40 through the quiet stretches of northern Texas and into the high plains of New Mexico. The weather that evening was strange. Sporadic thunderstorms rolled in from the north, separated by long pockets of unnatural silence. According to his last check-in, sent at 11:21 p.m., Marvin was 14 miles east of Santa Rosa and running smooth. His delivery was scheduled for 8 a.m. the following morning. At 1:12 a.m., Marvin's truck came to a full stop beneath a short overpass known only on local maps as Mile 12 Bridge. The area is unremarkable, a flat stretch of highway with one arched concrete bridge allowing a ranch road to cross above. No lights, no gas stations, no reason to stop, and yet Marvin did. His GPS log shows no deceleration, no braking, just stationary. As if the truck had teleported from highway speed to full stop by 7:45 a.m. Marvin had failed to arrive at his Flagstaff delivery site, and calls to his company phone went unanswered. His dispatch initiated a location ping and found the truck, still parked at Mile 12. State Trooper Alan DeVries was the first to respond. He arrived just before 9 a.m. and found Marvin's truck exactly as the GPS had indicated, parked neatly on the right shoulder beneath the overpass. The engine was idling, hazards off, lights off, wipers frozen mid-motion, and the driver's door wide open. The interior of the cab was undisturbed. Marvin's logbook was open to his last entry. Visibility, okay. Thunder in distance. All good. His coffee was cold. His CB radio was still set to channel 19. His overnight bag was zipped shut on the sleeper bunk. No sign of Marvin. DeVries noted something else. Above the truck, scrawled on the concrete wall of the overpass, were words written in grease pencil, "You were here yesterday." The writing wasn't fresh. It had been weathered by rain and age, faded, old, and beneath it barely legibly another line scratched faintly in a childlike scrawl. "Don't stop under the arch." The bridge had no known history of accidents or significance. But when investigators reviewed Marvin's electronic logs, a chilling discrepancy emerged. His truck had been parked at the same location, exactly 1 year earlier to the day July 14th, 2013. That stop had lasted precisely 3 minutes. Marvin never mentioned it in his logs. No check-in, no report. It had been dismissed at the time as a brief roadside break, but the mileage data told a different story. That day, the truck's odometer showed a loss of 12.4 miles as if the truck had been driven, but not recorded by GPS. No explanation had ever been found, and now, a year later to the day, he had stopped there again. This time, he never left. Search. Crews scoured the surrounding plains. Drones, helicopters, thermal imaging, all showed nothing. The ground was dry, flat, and hard-packed, impossible to hide anything. But investigators did find something inside the overpass structure. An old maintenance access panel, long sealed shut with rusted bolts, had been tampered with. 3 bolts were missing, and the others were loose, though the door remained shut. When finally opened, inside was nothing but darkness and a short ladder leading to a dead-end maintenance cavity, empty except for a single torn shirt tag with Marvin Reyes's name printed in faded black ink. The shirt Marvin had been wearing, according to his wife, was a navy blue polo. It had not been recovered in the truck. Even more unsettling was the CB report received from another trucker, Daryl Kincaid, who had passed Mile 12 Bridge around 3:30 a.m. that night. "I was driving westbound when I saw a truck parked beneath the overpass. I figured someone was taking a nap," Kincaid reported. "Then I saw movement on top of the bridge. A person, maybe, but they didn't move right." When asked to explain, Kincaid hesitated. It was like they were replaying, like a video skipping. Same step, over and over, 1 foot forward, snap back, looping. He didn't stop. He said the rain started falling harder just after he passed, and in his side mirror, he thought he saw Marvin's truck lights flash once, just once, to this day. Marvin Reyes remains missing. His truck was impounded and later dismantled by state investigators. But multiple electronics from the vehicle, including the onboard GPS, dashcam, and engine diagnostics, were found to have 12 hours of missing data. With no sign of tampering, a full day gone. The overpass at mile 12 has since become an informal point of superstition among truckers. Some report odd flashes of light under the arch. Others say their radio signal cuts out precisely at mile 11.9, and some say if you stop under the bridge during a thunderstorm, you might see someone standing on top, walking, then vanishing. The words painted on the concrete have faded nearly to invisibility now, but some say you can still see them in the right light. You were here yesterday, and the warning, don't stop under the arch. On the evening of March 3, 2020, long-haul trucker Nina Blackwell was driving north through Mississippi on her way from Baton Rouge to Memphis. A 42-year-old solo driver with 12 years on the road, Nina was highly regarded by both dispatchers and other drivers for her sharp instincts and calm under pressure. That night, she was hauling consumer electronics ahead of schedule, with light traffic and no weather alerts along her route. Around 11:18 p.m., Nina called into dispatch to report that she'd be stopping for a break at a rest area she'd used before exit 69 off US Route 45. Stretching my legs should be back on the road in 20, she said. That call would be the last time anyone heard from her, when she failed to check in the following morning. Dispatch contacted Mississippi Highway Patrol. Her GPS tracker showed her truck's last known location as a quarter-mile east of exit 69, near a wooded stretch known for its thick tree cover and lack of lighting. Trooper Harrison Miles arrived at the coordinates at 6:47 a.m., expecting a routine breakdown. Instead, he found nothing. No truck, no skid marks, no debris, just empty highway. And according to Miles, new exit 69, I drove past that mile marker 3 times, he said in his initial report. No ramp, no signage, no rest stop. It was like it was never there. Thinking there had been a miscommunication, dispatch rechecked the GPS data. The coordinates placed Nina's truck directly off a right-hand turn that on every map they had, including official highway databases, should not have existed. Miles doubled back one last time. This time, he slowed near a slight depression. In the road's shoulder, barely enough space for a full-sized rig. As he stepped out into the early morning fog, his flashlight caught the glint of something metallic in the underbrush. It was Nina's company-issued name tag, bent slightly, its edges scorched as if from high heat. Less than 10 feet away, resting on the damp forest floor, was her cell phone screen cracked, battery dead, but miraculously intact despite the soft mud and brush. State troopers launched a full-scale search. Helicopters scanned for tire tracks or oil stains. Canine units combed the area, but there was no sign of the truck, no damage to nearby trees, no marks on the road. It was as if the entire rig had been erased. When her phone was examined by forensic techs, they recovered only one file, a 47-second voice memo Nina had, recorded at 11:21 p.m., just minutes after pulling off. Her voice was calm at first, speaking quietly over the sound of rain hitting the windshield. Just pulled into the rest stop. No other trucks here tonight. Sign looks older than I remember, but whatever. Gonna check out that old vending shack hold on theirs. A pause. Then her voice returns, strained. Something's wrong. The road's gone behind me. I swear to God it was just there. The next sounds of footsteps, running, wind, then a sharp, short gasp. The recording ends abruptly. Further investigation unearthed something even stranger. When officials attempted to identify Exit 69 through Mississippi's Department of Transportation, they discovered that no such exit had ever been built. The rest area Nina referred to did exist in older highway documents from the 1970s, had been permanently closed and demolished in 1982 after a series of fatal accidents in the area. Official records cited structural concerns. Unofficial reports hinted at driver disorientation, missing time, and equipment failure. Locals had a different name for it: Dead Man's Bend. Folklore in the region tells of a phantom exit that appears only at night during heavy rainfall. Truckers who take it are never seen again. Some say it's a thin spot where roads lead not just to towns or cities, but to other places entirely. One retired driver, Mason Givens, came forward after hearing of Nina's disappearance. He had driven that route in 1994 and vividly remembered pulling off near Exit 69. "I only stayed 5 minutes," he said. "There was something wrong with the light. Everything looked faded, like I was in a photo that hadn't finished developing. Got the hell out of there." When asked why he never reported it, he simply said, "Because that exit wasn't there the next night." To this day, Nina's truck has never been found, not on satellite, not in the woods, not even in riverbeds for miles around. There was no distress call, no brake marks, just a GPS log, a scorched name tag, and a voice memo that ends with rain, panic, and silence. Some truckers claim that late at night, if you drive US Route 45 during a downpour, you'll spot an old green sign rising out of the mist: Exit 69. Rest area, half-mile but. When you check your map afterward, it'll be gone. And if you took the exit, so might you. On September 26, 2015, 3-year-old trucker Harold Hal Mendez was driving a late-night haul from Tulsa to Amarillo, transporting industrial solvents for a chemical distributor. A seasoned driver with over 25 years on the road, Hal preferred night, runs less traffic, less stress, more time to think. But this route had taken longer than expected. A detour near Oklahoma City pushed him 2 hours behind schedule, and the fatigue was setting in hard. Just before 3 a.m., Hal's dashcam recorded him pulling into a small truck stop along State Highway 152, somewhere west of Weatherford. The video showed what appeared to be a 2-pump gas station, dimly lit with a glowing red neon sign that read simply, "Easy Fuel." The footage was clear. Hal parked next to the diesel pump. A weathered building sat just beyond the station, with the flicker of a soda machine light in the window. He stepped out, stretched his legs, and disappeared from the frame as he entered the building. He was off camera for exactly 11 minutes. When he returned to his truck, he looked confused. That's how his family described it when they watched the recovered footage later. He stood outside the driver's door for almost a full minute, staring back at the station, as if trying to make sense of something. Then he got in, turned on the engine, and drove off into the rain. At 4:13 a.m., Hal called his wife, which was unusual for him during a run. The call was short, but unsettling. According to the phone logs, Hal said, "You ever stop somewhere and then not be sure if you really did?" His wife asked if he was okay. He answered only, "I think the lights inside the building were all wrong. The place was full of mirrors." He ended the call without explanation. Hal never made it to Amarillo. His truck was found the next morning, parked in an open field off a service road 8 miles from the highway. No signs of collision, no mechanical failure. The trailer was intact. His wallet and logbook were still in the cab. Hal was gone. The engine was off. Keys still in the ignition. Headlights dead. But the CB radio was powered on, looping static, broken by a strange, rhythmic clicking 5 beats, repeated every 10 seconds. It continued until the unit was manually unplugged. The dashcam footage was intact. Investigators reviewed it multiple times, confirming the time stamp and location of the gas station. But here's where it got strange. When local authorities went to verify the stop, there was nothing there. No building, no gas station, no evidence a business had ever existed at the GPS location. Aerial surveys showed the land had been undeveloped for decades, owned by the state and used as a wildlife buffer. County records showed no structure, permits, or demolitions. Within 10 miles of the area in the last 30 years, the neon sign in the dashcam footage. No record of an easy fuel ever registered in Oklahoma. Even stranger, the reflection of Hal walking inside the gas station never matched his movements. When he raised his arm in the dashcam's rear view, the reflection stayed still. When he stepped forward, it turned away. Hull's family insisted he wasn't hallucinating or confused. He didn't drink, never took medication, had no history of mental illness. But in the weeks before his disappearance, Hal had started writing in a small notebook he kept in the cab, recording odd things he saw during night runs, radio frequencies that didn't match any known station headlights that disappeared mid-turn, and recurring dreams of a gas station, glowing red in the middle of an empty field. That notebook was missing from the truck, but a single piece of paper was found taped inside his glove box. Written in blocky, trembling handwriting. It wasn't a gas station. No one knows what Hal saw inside that building. No security cameras exist from the supposed location. And despite multiple searches, the Easy Fuel truck stop has never appeared again. Yet, in the years since Hal's disappearance, at least 3 other truckers have reported seeing a strange red neon sign glowing in the mist along State Highway 152. One swears he saw a man inside, standing in the window, face completely still, as if waiting. Another claims his radio froze at 2:59 a.m., every dial stuck. While that same rhythmic clicking filled the cab, they all kept driving. None of them stopped, and all of them said the same thing. The building didn't reflect the road, only them. On April 2nd, 2021, 8-year-old trucker Jordan Beck was driving a flatbed load of lumber from Helena, Montana to Twin Falls, Idaho. He was experienced, efficient, and rarely strayed from his planned route. That night, he was running a few hours late due to unexpected rain and minor construction delays along Route 93. At around 11:50 p.m., Jordan made a routine call to dispatch, saying he was about to take a detour down a smaller road called Riverbend Highway, which would cut through forested hills and reconnect with Route 75. The detour wasn't unusual. Locals used it all the time, and it saved nearly 40 minutes during low traffic hours. According to GPS data, Jordan made the turn. Then he never arrived by 7 a.m. when the delivery window had closed and calls went unanswered. The company initiated a location trace. Jordan's truck was still pinging, strangely enough, on Riverbend Highway, just west of the junction. The ping kept moving, looping along the same stretch of about 4 miles, circling endlessly. When state troopers arrived, they found Jordan's truck parked on the roadside at a sharp bend surrounded by dense pine forest. The engine was cold. The trailer and cab were locked from the inside. Jordan wasn't there. There were no signs of a struggle. The area around the truck was muddy from the night's rain, but no footprints. No tire marks leading away. Just a truck abandoned in the middle of nowhere. Investigators pulled the truck's dashcam footage. What they found was disturbing. The video showed Jordan driving through the winding forest road, windshield wipers slicing the rain. The footage looped through 4 minutes of road, over and over same trees, same bend, same angle of rain, same brief flicker of a reflective sign. There was no cut in the file. It simply repeated, seamlessly, as if Jordan was driving in a perfectly repeating loop without realizing it. On the 5th loop, Jordan is seen glancing at his dashboard clock, which flicks from 12:13 to 12:09 to 12:13 again. His voice, low and confused, can be heard on the cab mic. Didn't I just pass that sign? He turns down the radio. Silence then again, softly. No, this isn't right. The 6th loop begins. But this time, there's someone. Standing in the road, the figure appears just after the bend, a tall silhouette in a rain-soaked poncho, face completely hidden. Jordan swerves slightly, but the dashcam glitches. The figure vanishes. He slows the truck and pulls over. That's where the footage ends. The rest of the hard drive was overwritten, likely by the truck's auto-record feature restarting when Jordan stepped out. Search crews fanned the area, finding nothing, but they did recover Jordan's phone from beneath the passenger seat. One unsent text was typed in the message box. Time is looping. Same road, trees are staring. Can't turn around. Investigators dismissed the message as a breakdown or hallucination. But 2 months later, another trucker, Angela, called in a near-identical report. She'd taken Riverbend Highway on a foggy night and drove past the same reflective sign 3 times in less than 10 minutes. She said the trees seemed too symmetrical. She saw a curve in the road that made her feel like she'd just been there. She turned around and drove back toward the main highway. Before she left, she said she saw something in her mirror. A man standing in the road, hand outstretched like he was trying to wave her down. She didn't stop when shown Jordan Beck's photo. She froze. That's him, she said. But he wasn't alive. His face looked wrong stretched. As of today, Jordan Beck remains missing. His truck was towed and stored, but technicians noted that the GPS system inside it continued to glitch, even when unpowered. Every time it was booted up, it would show the same 4-mile stretch on Riverbend Highway, a stretch that, according to updated road maps, no longer exists. In fact, the state closed off Riverbend entirely in 2022, after a series of unexplained accidents and driver complaints. The official reports cited erosion, but locals tell a different story. They say the road was feeding off people, a loop, a trap, a stretch of highway that doesn't want you to leave. And sometimes, when the fog is thick and the rain's just right, the road appears against us for a little while. But no one who's seen the man in the poncho ever makes that mistake twice. In October of 2016, long-haul driver Ellis Monroe was heading east across Utah, hauling commercial HVAC units bound for Kansas City. Ellis, 50, had been on the road for over 2 decades. He was known for keeping his cab spotless and his routines: unshaken coffee at midnight, CB check-ins at the top of every hour, and a short nap every morning just before sunrise. That night, the weather was rough. High winds and steady rain swept across the state's central basin. turning empty desert stretches into a hazy blur of wet asphalt and flickering taillights. Around 12:40 a.m., Ellis pulled off Route 6 just west of Green River, looking for a place to rest. There were no official stops nearby, so he eased into a gravel-turned out spot other truckers used when the weather got bad. His last check-in to dispatch was simple: pulled off for a break. No issues. Back on in 30, Ellis never called back. When he failed to arrive in Kansas City 2 days later, a search was launched. GPS pinged his last location near the gravel turnout, but when officers arrived, the truck was empty, locked, undisturbed. Engine off, cab lights on, coffee thermos still warm. No sign of Ellis, but what really unsettled investigators was the CB radio. It was on, and it was broadcasting, static with the occasional crackle of a voice. At first, they assumed it was interference. Desert air can carry signals oddly during storms. But when audio techs reviewed the recording, they discovered something buried in the static. A voice, not a clear one, more like a whisper pressed into broken glass. It repeated the same phrase, again and again, every 7 minutes. "Ellis, don't open it." The signal was consistent. It would hiss, pop, then the voice again, same words, same timing, over and over. Investigators retrieved the internal CB logger, rarely used function that tracks signal source and timestamps. What they found made no sense. The signal was not coming from outside the truck. It was coming from within the cab itself. Even weirder, the CB had been set to a dead channel. Channel 3, one most truckers leave untouched. Unofficially nicknamed the Ghost Lane, because it doesn't bounce signals well and is often used for prank interference. But Ellis had written something on a notepad tucked between the seats. For words, shaky handwriting, written over and over, Channel 3 is wrong. The passenger side window showed faint marks on the condensation trails, where a fingertip had dragged slowly across the foggy glass from the outside. But there were no footprints, no sign of entry. The only other clue, his dashcam, the video feed, was corrupted, scrambled with bursts of grey light and strange shadows flickering across the windshield. But one frame, just one, was salvageable. At exactly 12:49 a.m., the lens caught a shape someone standing outside. The cab, just beyond the rain, face pressed near the glass, their mouth open, eyes glowing in the CB light. Investigators couldn't identify the figure. No one else had been recorded on nearby road cameras, but long haulers who've passed the same stretch claim they've picked up strange bursts of static on Channel 3 usually, on rainy nights and sometimes just beneath the crackling hiss. They say they hear someone whisper their name. One driver, Carla Riggs, swore she stopped her truck after hearing her own voice call out from her CB. When asked what it said, she went pale. "It told me not to open the door." She didn't. Ellis Monroe was never found. His truck was impounded, and the CB unit is still locked in evidence storage. No matter how many times it's powered on, Channel 3 activates instantly, and every 7 minutes, without fail. Ellis, don't open it. On February 19, 2019, independent hauler Dean Calloway took a last-minute job transporting a sealed cargo trailer from El Paso, Texas, to Bakersfield, California. It was a cold, rainy night, and the job was simple. No stops, no questions, just deliver the trailer by dawn. Dean had taken a few of these under-the-table runs before. They paid well, and the pickup came with minimal paperwork, according to his own logs. Dean departed the El Paso depot at 10:43 p.m., heading west on I-10, through scattered showers and high desert wind. He checked in with a friend via CB at midnight, saying everything seemed normal, but the trailer felt unusually heavy despite the manifest listing it as empty crates. Just after 1:30 a.m., a highway camera recorded Dean's rig pulling into a roadside rest area near Deming, New Mexico. That was the last time his truck was seen moving. At 6:12 a.m., a passing trucker spotted Dean's rig still parked in the same spot, headlights off, trailer sealed. He knocked on the cab door. No answer. He called it in. State police arrived to find Dean's truck locked, keys still in the ignition, dashboard systems powered but idle. His logbook was left open to a single, shaky note scrawled across the page in pen. "It's awake." Dean's wallet, phone, and coat were still inside. The coffee in the Q folder was cold. His side of the cab was neatly arranged, as if he had just stepped out, but the passenger door was open. Rain had begun to soak the concrete, but the passenger side steps showed no footprints, no signs of entry or exit. The trailer was sealed tight with an industrial lock, same as when Dean had picked it up. No visible tampering. But here's where things get stranger. When investigators reviewed dashcam footage, they found something disturbing in the audio logs. Between 12:58 and 1:24 a.m., there were unexplained thumps recorded from inside the trailer. Rhythmic at first, then erratic, then scratching. Dean's voice comes over the mic just once, muttering, "No way, crates are moving like that." There's a pause, followed by an unsettling creak like metal straining under pressure, then silence. The audio resumes an hour later with something breathing. Slow, wet, not human. Forensic audio engineers couldn't identify the sound, but confirmed it was recorded inside the cab near the driver's seat. Dean never made it to Bakersfield. The cargo company that contracted him claimed no knowledge of what was in the trailer. When officials demanded access to the manifest, they were told it was classified materials for decommissioning. Eventually, under court pressure, they allowed the trailer to be opened. Inside were 14 black plastic containers, all empty, no markings, no contents. But the interior of the trailer had been scratched, clawed at in circular patterns, deep grooves, etched into the walls and floor from the inside out. Swabs taken from the floor revealed an unknown biological residue, viscous, translucent, and highly acidic. Lab tests came back inconclusive. The material degraded upon exposure to air. One more detail was recorded by the officer on dash sight when they opened the trailer door. The air inside was warm and moist, like breath in a sealed container, and something else. The trailer floor was wet, like it had been raining inside. Dean was never found. His truck was dismantled and impounded. Several of the officers who entered the trailer later reported strange symptoms: fever, vertigo, and dreams of something crawling just outside the door. None of them could explain what the cargo really was. And the company, gone, folded up weeks after the incident. No trace of the owner. The phone numbers disconnected, but every so often a similar trailer is spotted on that same stretch of I-10. No logos, no plate, just a plain white box, streaked with rust, moving west through the rain. And if you pass it at night, some say you can hear it too, something breathing inside. In December of 2013, a trucker named Paul Hensley vanished somewhere along a 60-mile stretch of Oregon's Highway 58, aged 44. Paul was a quiet, dependable driver. No criminal record, no drama, no history of strange behavior. He was delivering refrigerated goods from Eugene to Boise route. He'd driven dozens of times without incident. His last check-in was a radio call to his dispatcher at 11:27 p.m., stating that he was passing mile marker 42 and looking forward to the snow. Letting up. That's where the trail ends. By 7 o'clock AM1, he failed to arrive in Boise, and calls went unanswered. The company initiated a GPS trace. The signal had stopped at exactly 11:31 p.m. MID transmission. The truck was later found parked on the shoulder. Near mile marker 42, headlights off, engine still warm, cab locked, Paul gone. There were no signs of foul play. His personal items were untouched. His logbook ended neatly at 11:25 p.m. with nothing unusual noted. The food in the fridge was still chilled. His coat was hanging on the seat. The driver's door was shut, but the passenger door was slightly ajar. It had snowed overnight, but strangely there were no footprints leading away from the vehicle. Not one. The investigation stalled. No witnesses, no forensics, no reason to assume anything but an incredibly rare case of voluntary disappearance or something far worse. But that wasn't the end of the story. 2 years later, in January 2016, a dispatch operator for the same trucking company named Maggie Lane was working an overnight shift when she received a radio transmission on a long-unused frequency. The voice identified itself as Paul Hensley. "Maggie, I'm out past 42. Fog's too thick. I didn't take the turn. That's my fault. I hear someone walking by the trailer." The voice was unmistakable. Same accent, same speech pattern, static-filled and distant, but undeniably him. Maggie froze. She checked the logs. No trucks were dispatched on that frequency. It wasn't even in use anymore. She tried to reply, but the signal cut out. She later admitted to the company that she hadn't told authorities right away, thought it was a hoax, thought she was losing it until it happened again. 3 weeks later, same time, same frequency, same voice. This time, Paul was crying. "I can't see the road. There's nothing out the window now. It's just dark. And I think something's knocking. But it's not at the door, it's on the roof." The final words of that recording chilled her. "Maggie, if they ask, tell M, I'm sorry I missed the turn. But I wasn't driving anymore. Not after I saw it." The radio logs were analyzed and confirmed. The transmission was not a rebroadcast, not pre-recorded. It was live, sent from a location that didn't exist, nowhere near any known cell tower, satellite path, or base station. A technician described it as a voice coming in through a wire that had been cut. The Hensley family was notified. Paul's brother, Alan, insisted that the voice was real. He had an old voicemail from Paul on his phone and compared them. The match was 100%, even down to the same nervous breath before speaking. Paul's truck remains in impound. Its onboard CB system has been inactive ever since. But one investigator working the case long after it had gone cold returned to the site near mile marker 42 during a snowstorm in 2018. He brought a handheld radio, tuned to the old dispatch frequency. Nothing came through for nearly 2 hours. Then, at 11:27 p.m., the exact time of Paul's final check-in, he heard something, a knock, then breathing, then static. When he returned to his car, he found his driver's side mirror cracked clean down. The middle, a long streak of snowmelt ran down the door like a hand had dragged across the frame. The recording he made that night captured one final whisper before the tape. "Ended, wrong turn, no road back." This happened late last fall, right after Thanksgiving. I was driving home from my parents' place. A 5-hour trip through mostly back roads and 2-lane highways that cut through the mountains. I've done the drive dozens of times. I know. Every curve, every mile marker, every lonely gas station along the way. That night, it started to rain about halfway through. Not a thunderstorm, just a cold, steady rain. The kind that blurs your windshield no matter how high your wipers are set. Visibility dropped, everything turned grey. And then I saw a house. I came around a bend and saw it out of the corner of my eye. Just off the road, a 2-story farmhouse. Painted dark green, set back about 50 feet into a clearing. It had a long gravel driveway, a porch with a swing, and a single upstairs light, glowing faint yellow behind gauzy curtains. It was subtle ordinary, except I knew it didn't belong there. There's never been a house on that stretch of road, not ever. It's all trees for miles. I slowed down instinctively, tires hissing on wet asphalt. I even rolled down the window, half expecting to hear dogs barking or someone on the porch. Nothing, just the soft patter of rain and the low hum of my engine. I pulled off to the shoulder, put on my hazards, and stared. The house looked still, too still, like it was holding its breath. And then I swear this happened. The porch light flicked on. It didn't flicker to life. It snapped on, like someone inside had flipped a switch. I waited. No movement. No shadows behind the curtains. But the light was now on. I told myself to keep driving. This wasn't my business. It was late. I was tired. But then I saw someone move in the upstairs window. Just a silhouette, barely visible behind the curtain. They leaned forward slowly, pressing their face close to the glass, watching me. I couldn't see their features, but I could feel them watching, a cold, deliberate stare. I shifted the car into drive and started to pull away, and then I noticed something in the rearview mirror. There was no driveway behind me. I slammed on the brakes, confused. Looked again, nothing, just trees. I turned back and the house was gone. Gone like it had never been there. No light, no structure, no gravel, just woods and shadows and the endless whisper of rain on the leaves. I sat there for a long time, engine running, heart racing. Eventually, I drove off. Didn't stop until I reached a town with lights and people and gas stations that stayed open past midnight. I told myself it was a trick of the rain, maybe a weird reflection, maybe a dream I didn't know I was having. But a few days later, I got curious. I looked up satellite maps, pulled up the exact GPS coordinates of where I stopped. I zoomed in, and what I found was worse than if I'd found nothing at all. There was a house there, or at least there had been an old farmhouse, burned down in 1983, according to the report. It caught fire just after midnight during a storm. The family inside never made it out. For people, parents and 2 daughters, cause of the fire never determined. But here's what chilled me. The photo attached to the article, black and white, grainy, showed the house as it once stood. Same porch, same swing, same upstairs window with the gauzy curtains. The caption underneath, last photo taken before the fire. I haven't taken that road since, and I never will again, because every time I hear rain against the glass, I see that upstairs light and wonder what would have happened if I'd knocked on the door. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another night of terror. We post true horror stories, real encounters, and the unexplained. And remember what's waiting in the dark. might already know your name. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay alert, and whatever you do, don't turn around.